watch it work, seeds of joy in every row. Come on down, we'll show you how what's fresh and green is growing now. At Bob's Market, we've got it all, from garden dreams to greenhouse halls. Catch the buzz, catch the show, where the best of the season grows. Tomatoes ripe, peppers bright, tips for keeping blooms in sight. Let's make your backyard glow. Tools and plants, advice for free. Bob's is where you want to be. At Bob's Market, we've got it all, from garden dreams to greenhouse halls. Catch the buzz, catch the show, where the best of the season grows.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Bob's Live. And this week, I have quite a few things to cover and also some great news. So, let's jump right into the great news first. And that is, right now, all of our store locations are open 7 days a week. So, we're going to be updating hours online. It takes a while in some places, like on Google Maps, for the times to update. But we're going to be updating the times. And, but yeah, we're open 7 days a week now at all three of our locations, Gallipolis, Belpre, and Mason. And also, as you can see right here from the video, I just shot this morning. This is at our Mason store. So we're starting to get in quite a wide selection of plants to choose from. And we're still getting stuff in, so that selection is just going to continue to grow, all the way up into Mother's Day. So stop by, check it out. There is one thing, though, that you do need to consider right now. So if you're going with something that's not frost hardy, you want to make sure you can plant it in a place where you can either cover it up if we get a frost, or that it's in a container that you can take inside. So that would be my only caution right now. And along with that, let's jump right into taking a look at the weather. So the weather forecast is, it's going to be a little bit rocky over this weekend. So we're looking at kind of a stormy front coming through, starting kind of this evening. I think there's a chance for thunderstorms. But then heading into the weekend, once the front passes, we're going to be having some cooler weather. So we're looking at a high of 58 on Sunday and 56 on Monday. So that means that the nighttime lows are going to be dropping down into the 30s. And right now, AccuWeather is showing a Sunday night low for Mason at 32. So keep an eye out on our website. Right here on the page that I have pulled up is our weather center. And you can find this over on our website. And if I scroll down a little bit, so we've got our last frost count down there. That is the average last frost date. So we're still 17 days out from the average last frost date for our region. So you want to keep that in mind when you're planting flowers. But if I scroll down here, right now we don't have any weather alerts. But anytime there's a weather alert within a 50-mile radius of our headquarters here in Mason, I have a little script here that runs on our website, and it combines those alerts together and places it right there in that box. So right now it says no active weather alerts, but if we were to have like a frost advisory or something like that, it would show up there. And if I'm able to catch it in time, I'll also post it on Facebook and send out an email to our email list. So another good idea is to jump on that list. So you can go on our website and subscribe to our email list, and that way you'll get notified also if we have a frost advisory. But yeah, right now we're looking at kind of a chilly weekend coming up. So Saturday looks like it's going to be the best day. It's going to be around 75 that day. Then the front moves through. Sunday is going to be a little bit cooler on Monday. And then we're going to jump back up into the 70s later in the week. So we're in kind of that springtime up-down pattern that we get in. And also, if you want a more updated, let me find the mouse here. If you want a more updated forecast going into the weekend, make sure you check out and follow the Keep Growing podcast. It comes out every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. And I actually usually record it the night before. So at like 10 o'clock on Friday night, usually I'm recording the podcast and uploading it. So that way I get the most up-to-date weather forecast for at least the weekend. Because, you know, the further you go out in the forecast, the less accurate it gets. So that gives you an updated weekend forecast for all the folks, you know, that are weekend warriors when it comes to gardening. And then we also, on the podcast, cover weekly gardening tasks. And I do that by looking at the Farmer's Almanac, the WVU Extension Office Gardening Calendar, and a bunch of other resources. And I kind of pull that all together and use that both for our podcast, and then also if you check out our website, there's Uncle Jim's Almanac, and that's gardening tasks specific to our region. So those are both great tools to use. And along with the weather being cool right now, or us still having the chance of cold snaps, I recommend, unless you've got structures built to help protect plants, like say maybe you're using milk jug covers for tomatoes, or cold frames, or row covers, I wouldn't recommend planting like your not cold hardy plants yet. That being said, I got out in the garden and planted a bunch of cold crops. So I planted, right now I have lettuce, snow peas, kale, Swiss chard, and cabbage going. So I got out in the garden and planted those and made a quick video. So let's jump into that, and that'll be the close of this week's episode. So if you have any questions during the video, pop it into the comments, and I'll jump back in after and answer any questions that you have about planting cool weather garden crops. Today, I think it's even windier than last week, but I am out here in the garden planting some of my early spring crops. So these are all frost tolerant things that you can plant right now. And well, I've got this trellis here that I slapped together out of some scrap lumber that I had, or well, trim. And around it, I have snow peas planted. And normally I plant bush type, but the ones that I chose to plant this year, it actually recommends growing on a trellis. So we'll see how far they climb up this trellis. And then right beside of them right here, I have, this is, I believe, red boar kale. I'd have to go check the tag. But I planted 3 kale plants, and then I also planted kale seed. And the seed that I planted is a variety called Snowboar. So the idea is that I've planted some starts, so I'll have kale early on that's ready, and then right as I'm harvesting it, the kale that's planted from seed should be coming up and getting mature. So that way I've got some early on and some further out. You can kind of plan crop succession that way by doing transplants and seed together. And then also at the other end of this bed, I have Swiss chard planted, which it's another green. I love it. It's really heat tolerant, so once we start getting warmer weather, it'll hang on a little bit longer than the kale. So that's this bed. The other beds I'm working on cleaning up. I've got to till this one up. My cabbage is going to go into this bed, and then after that I just have onion sets left to plant, and that's the majority of my spring crops. So I've kind of scaled back a little bit because a lot of stuff that I planted last year, it didn't go to waste, but I ended up not needing as much of it as I thought. So you know, you can kind of adjust year to year, and that's the importance of taking notes. So I keep a garden journal. I write down what works, what we like, what we don't like, and adjust from there. All right, the wind finally let up a little bit. I got this cabbage planted, and I also got the onion sets planted. Now this bed, I use the end of it right here as a compost pile, because when I was originally filling up these beds, I didn't have quite enough soil. So for the last couple of years, this side of the bed has been my onion bed. And I'm probably going to move it eventually, because onions do pull a lot of sulfur and other nutrients from the soil. So it's really not a great idea to grow them in the same spot year over year without amending the soil. That being said, I've got my compost pile right there, so I pulled some compost over to help beef up the soil a little bit for the onions. Now, this bed behind me, you might be looking at that saying, that's a mess. You might be looking at that too saying, yeah, that's a mess also. I'm right against the back side of my property line here, so that's over on my neighbor, and actually the future sewer line is going to be going through there anyway, so that's all going to get cleaned up within the next year or two. But yeah, these last two beds right here at the back, they got a little bit overgrown at the end of last summer. I had squash in this one, and the weeds sort of took over. And then, unfortunately, I had Johnson grass come up in this bed. Which, if you remember a few years ago, when I put in the raised beds, one of the reasons why I put them in is because I was dealing with a Johnson grass infestation. And it looks like the beds held it off for a few years, but it's back, and now I have to deal with it. And there's really no easy way to get rid of Johnson grass. Literally the only thing that will kill it, unfortunately, is Roundup. You have to go in, treat it, that goes down into the roots and kills the root system. Johnson grass, it uses rhizomes to spread, so these roots kind of tunnel out underground and then more pops up. So if you cut down one bunch, you haven't really killed it, you've just cut off its head, and it's continuing to spread underground. So it makes it really hard to deal with. It's a very painful, invasive to deal with. And it is an invasive plant. It's not originally from here, it's from Africa. And the reason why it's called Johnson grass, it's actually named after a governor of one of the Carolinas. I forget if it was North or South Carolina. Imported the stuff during, I believe, the Great Depression, because he thought it would help feed cows. Sort of a similar thing with kudzu. Yeah, you know what? American cows don't like Johnson grass, and it grows like crazy. Also, I don't know if you can hear it on the camera. You might be hearing some beeping every now and then, really high-pitched noise. I got these last year. There's one here and one at that end of the bed. They are motion sensing pest chasers. So they kind of help keep the rabbits out of the garden. And it seems to be working. I see rabbits over here in the grassy area in my yard all the time. I never really see them venture down this far. So I guess once stuff starts coming up, we'll get a better idea of if I have any animal issues I need to deal with. Something that's been on the docket for a few years now is getting a fence around this garden, and hopefully I'll get to that project this summer. I've priced a few different options, and I just need to commit to one and go ahead and do it. And well, this is my early spring garden. Up next, I'm going to be tackling the row crop area over here, giving it its first till of the year. I would have done it today. It was a really nice day. I had to mow grass, and that kind of ate into my time. And also, I need to get gear oil for the tiller. That's something I just realized that I am out of. But yeah, this is my early spring garden. These are all plants that can withstand frost and some freezing temperatures. If we're going to have like a hard freeze and things are starting to come up, like my kale and Swiss chard, I'll probably come out and throw a sheet over them. But other than that, you know, this is all pretty low maintenance plants this time of year. And the other benefit of gardening this time of year is, you know, there's not a lot of stuff growing right now weed wise either. So yeah. And well, I am going to post a blog post along with this on early spring crops that you can grow. So head over to our website at bobsmarket.com to learn more. So that is my spring garden as it stands right now. So I do have a lot of upcoming projects to work on. Like I mentioned in the video, I've got fence that I need to build around the garden. So far I've had the kale in the ground now for about a week. Haven't really noticed any rabbit issues. I'm also spraying, we carry it at our stores. It's Bonide deer and rabbit repellent. So I've been spraying that around my beds, and I think that might be helping too. It's got like hot peppers in it, so they don't like that. Stay away. And I think I'll have to read on the bottle. I'm pretty sure it's also like safe to spray on the plants themselves. I just haven't done that because I'm growing leafy crops, and I don't know if I want my lettuce or cabbage, you know, sprayed down with capsaicin. Spicy cabbage, that might be, yeah, I don't know about that. But yeah, I need to get a fence in. Also need to mulch around my beds, and I've still got some tilling to do. And then one of my next big projects is getting my wildflower beds planted. So I've got to do some tilling in that area and get those planted. And I also have one special area that I want to plant this year. I have a whole big container in my fridge full of gladiolus bulbs. I found a store that had them marked down at the end of last year to like an insanely low price, and I just bought out like the entire shelf, and I've had them in storage all winter, so I need to get those in the ground also. So those are some of my upcoming projects, and you're probably going to see them here on Bob's Live. And well, that is all that I have for this week. So until next time, keep growing.
At Bob's Market, we've got got it all, from garden dreams to greenhouse halls. Catch the buzz, catch the show, where the best of the season grows.